Has it happened to you that you're trying to make a dance floor drum and bass tune and you've got the initial idea down, but then everything just seems kind of empty and you're not really sure what to put that? Well, that's a question about arrangement that lots of producers get in the drum and bass genre, because arrangement is actually really difficult, and especially in the melodic / dance floor drum and bass genre, things seem really simple, but for a tune to really be powerful and to fill you up with emotion and with energy, there's actually a lot more stuff going on than you would initially think about. And it's not crazy that you or any other producers have some kind of trouble figuring out how to make your dance floor tunes as rich and as warm and as exciting as, for example, to artists like Dimension and Wilkinson and Subfocus. Well, if this is something that you've been struggling with, then today is going to be super awesome. What we're going to be looking into today is what is called an arrangement exercise. It's one of the best ways to learn more about the arrangement of a tune. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the first 30 minutes of breaking down this super cool melodic dance floor song, No One Else by Wilkinson and Kanine. Now, I'm saying the first 30 minutes because doing this entire exercise takes quite a long time, and this is actually the first 30 minutes of an hour and a half of completely breaking down this entire song. And it was too long to post here on YouTube. We can't actually post videos that long, but you can find the rest of it along with other arrangement exercises and a lot more really cool educational content about arrangement in the School of Drum and Bass. The School of Drum and Bass is our flagship membership. It is literally a complete curriculum, a whole education that contains everything you need to know to produce drum and bass, going all the way from the basics, such as how to use Ableton and how to use Serum to make sounds, going to creating all the sounds of the drum and bass genre, how to arrange songs, how to mix, how to master, and so much more. So if you want to go check that out, or so if you're watching this video and you want to see the rest of this, so like the extra hour after that, there's a super special offer right now. You can get your first 7 days of membership for just £1, £1 British. That's it. I promise you will not regret it. However, for now, let's dive into completely breaking down this song. And so just to preface this, basically what we're going to do is we're going to take this song and we're going to listen to it over and over and over again together, and using MIDI clips, we're going to make a blueprint within Ableton of this song. So we're not going to create anything. We're literally just going to learn and analyze, and we're going to make a whole bunch of different channels and write down what we're hearing into super fine detail. And what we'll end up with is quite literally a blueprint of the song. Not only does that make you learn a lot about what's actually going on, because we're going to go and analyze that together, and I'll tell you about all the different layers and all the different tiny things that you may or may not hear, but also you can then later refer back to that when you're creating a song, and you'll have like your own little cheat sheet. All right. Enough about it, let's just get started with it. As always, you can actually download the project file for this in the link below. However, I would strongly recommend actually that you go and do this yourself. If you want the template for doing this, however, you can also find that in the School of Drum and Bass. So go sign up, guys. All right, if you're ready, then I am too, and then let's move on to go inside Ableton. Hey, what's up? Let's get started with this arrangement exercise for a dance floor tune. I chose a song that I personally really like, but that also happens to not be extremely complex or have any super crazy things in it. The song that we're going to talk about today is No One Else by Wilkinson and Douglas. And Kanine, by the way. Super dope song. You'll hear all about what it sounds like when we start playing it, but it's quite a simple song. It has just an intro, some vocals, it has a drop as a second part of the drop, and then that basically just repeats for the rest of the song, and then it has an outro. So there's nothing too crazy going on here, and it'll give us a good opportunity to understand what a sort of dance floor-y song is made out of. I'm going to do this live, meaning that the last time I did this myself is a while ago. I actually did this song when it came out, and I wanted to understand more about dance floor because I was mostly making sort of jump-uppy stuff at the time. So this will be a little bit more messy maybe than some of my other videos. I might go back and forth between a few things, but that's okay because you're going to be doing the same in the process when you do this exercise, which, by the way, I recommend you totally to do this exercise. Watch 1 or 2 or 3 of these videos and then go and do it for yourself. So yeah, let's get started. As you can see, we have all these channels here. I'm not sure, I made these like a couple years ago. I'm not sure if they're all still relevant, but what we're going to do is we're going to listen to parts of the songs, starting with the intro, and then we're just going to map the things that we're hearing with the appropriate lengths and the appropriate names as MIDI clips. All right, so yep, let's just get started. We're going to start with this intro here. Oh, and by the way, so I've already denominated what the different parts of the songs are. If you don't know how to do this, this is definitely a very convenient little trick. So in Ableton, and probably in any other DAW, you can right-click somewhere on the timeline, and you can say you want to insert a locator. I think if I do it here, it'll just say delete, but if I put it on an empty spot, it says add locator. And I can just denominate what is going on here. So I'm just going to type test, And I can also move this if I want to, but it's just going to give me a little bit more of direction, right? A little bit more of a roadmap to where the song is going. So you can see here that this song consists of an intro, then some vocals come in, so I guess this is technically still the intro. Then there's 2 parts of the build-up, the first part and then the part where it intensifies, the drop, then the vocals come back, so it's kind of the second part of the drop, and then there's the breakdown, right? So also, yeah, sometimes referred to as the outro if it's at the end of the song, and then another build-up, drop, and another outro. We should probably rename this outro. All right, cool. So let's get started with this little intro part there, and let's see what we can hear. By the way, I'm using the entire song file. If you also are, make sure to not put it on warp, and make sure to also look up the BPM. In this case, it's 174, as with most drum bass, so that you get the BPM correctly with what you're going to be doing here in your MIDI clips. Otherwise, it's going to be confusing because, well, if this one was like 172 and you were going in 174, then things are going to be confusing. All right, let's start. Just gonna solo this. All right, so immediately the first thing we hear is the song starts with a bit of a explosion type sound. This is usually either like a crash or actually an explosion that has been low passed. This is part of the effects group. Effects are basically, everything that's not an instrument. So let's go in here, and yeah, this would classify as an impact. So what we're gonna do, so we can hear that this impact is going, it has quite an impact, and then it sort of has a reverberating tail. So we can actually make note of that, right? We can sort of listen until when the body of the sound is and when the reverb tail is. So this part is probably the body of the sound. So let's go and make a MIDI clip here. You could right click and say insert MIDI clip, but you can also do this shortcut here, which is what I'm going to do throughout this video. And we don't actually need to do anything in the MIDI clip. We just want it to exist here so that we can mark it. And we're going to press Command R to rename it. And we're going to say impact body. And then for sure for 2 more beats, it kind of goes on. So let's duplicate this really quickly and let's make this longer. And we could call it impact reverb tail. This is already quite specific. You don't really have to be this specific, but I quite like doing that because now we know that, okay, there's an impact with a long reverb tail that sort of goes throughout the first whole bar. So what we also hear is this that is an ARP, right? And this ARP we can already put down here. I've made a little group called intro elements, and let's just put that in there. Let's see how long that goes for as well. All right, so it actually goes all the way until the build-up, so that's interesting. We'll hear later that this evolves over time, right? But it goes for the whole entire way. It just, there's some automation in terms of the filtering, I think, and I think maybe some volume automation here and there and some other things such as the reverb becoming bigger and smaller. But we have this ARP going for this entire time. So this is truly like an ever-present intro element. All right, let's move on. All right, so we can also hear that there's a bunch of vocals going on here, right? So you can definitely hear that they're sort of fading in. We can already hear from the start, it gets louder, but it's there. So let's go and let's see if we have a vocal group here. I think probably not. So let's just really quickly create one. Let's group this, right? Let's call it vocal group. And let's just give it a little bit of a different color. Let's make it orange. Cool. And so we're going to say, well, we'll definitely have a main vocal. And we'll talk a little bit more about what a main vocal means, because that's usually not just one channel. You'll learn a lot more about that in some other videos. And let's also say that we definitely have like an intro vocal. You could further denominate this by saying, maybe we have, instead of an intro and a vocal, we have some chanting. I think that's probably what you would call it, or some ad-libs, sometimes it's referred to. So let's see what's going on now. All right, so I think what's happening is you have this chanting. It's like It's one recording of someone doing this, and I think it starts again here. So that also happens here. So I think these are going to be the same. So let's call this, let's make a MIDI channel again, and let's call it sort of intro vocal chanting. And we can say probably that it's volume automated. What that means is, you know, the volume just changes over time. And we have 2 of these, right? Okay. Over and under. Actually, it just repeats throughout this whole thing. So it probably goes until the build-up as well. Cool. So we have another element that's filling things up. By the way, what's really nice about this vocal chanting in terms of sort of arrangement, you'll notice that there will be a lot of layers that are just sort of on the background here. When we hear them in the intro, there's less going on, so we can hear more of this, but you can also hear that as the actual vocals start, it's still in the background. Over and under. See, you hear that in there on the background. So that's one of those layers that I was talking about. Cool. What else have we got? So what we can hear there, even though it's quite hard to hear, is a reese bass type of thing. So that makes a lot of sense, because an ARP would sort of be the more middle to middle high frequencies. This impact would be some low frequencies and some middle frequencies, but we don't really have a bass. And you can hear that the bass is kind of coming in. And to show you how we can hear that, I'm just going to grab one of these EQs. So I've put several different EQs on this this original song, and we're just gonna solo sort of everything up to maybe 200 hertz, because that's where the bass will live. Maybe slightly more. Let's see. And you'll hear that there will be an audible reese bass coming in. Like maybe not right now, but there you go. Turn it up. There we go. It keeps becoming more audible. Now it's louder again. I'm exaggerating it now so you can hear it. All right, anyway, so we definitely have some type of low down reese bass coming in. Let's deactivate this EQ again. And it's definitely there until the buildup. I think in the buildup something changes. We'll have a look at that when we talk about the buildup. But we can go into our basses section here, right? And, well, we can, let's see, we don't have one specifically yet for a reese bass. We could put it in here, or we could just keep it in our intro elements, maybe. Maybe that's more convenient just for, you know, sort of learning where things are. So insert a MIDI check, and we're going to call this the intro reese. Cool. And so this also, let's just copy this clip. It's about as long as this one. And we can make these channels smaller, by the way, by just dragging it up and down. It's just going to take up less space. And we're going to call this intro reese bass. Fades in about halfway through. It'll be there, but what'll just happen is it'll probably be filtered out, maybe even with some reverb on it or something like that. And it just comes through kind of, you know, somewhere here. And yeah, you can hear that it's just playing some very basic low end notes like do, 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 or something like that. Cool. So now we already have quite some solid intro elements, right? We've heard an ARP, we've heard an intro reese bass, we've heard something that kicks off the song, which is that little impact that we've got here. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, we've got some vocal chanting. So now you can already see what sort of is taking shape to be the intro of our song. Let's have another listen. All right, cool. So to sort of break up everything, right, you can hear this, which is very likely like a super reverbed clap. And these types of elements, they're put in here because what we want to do is in an intro usually is we want to take a bunch of elements that'll sort of lead into the build-up or into the drop, but they are all fading in, they're all automated, some of them are filtered out and are filtering back in, some of them are super reverbed and lose their reverb over time. But if you just had that, it would be a little bit boring. So we add elements, mostly just sound effects, in between to sort of break that up and to give it a little bit more atmosphere, and this is one of them. right? So we can hear there's a super reverb clap. It's literally just like, oh, it's literally a reverb clap. So we can go to effects. We have our little effects group here. And we can say, okay, let's see. We have a reverb clap. Nice. Okay. Where is it? So this is cool. It happens on the 8. Or maybe even between the 8 and the 9. Nice. Let's put a little MIDI clip here and let's say, call it reverbed clap long tail, because we can hear that it's pretty long. All right, while we're in effects, we can hear that sort of as soon as the vocals come in, we can also hear a down sweep coming in. A down sweep is nothing but, basically the reverse of a riser. You can hear that, right? Over. So I don't know if there's one in here, but let's call it, I've called it reverse riser because I was a noob back then, but let's call it a down sweep. Over and under to the edge, take me far beyond the limit. So it actually sustains through almost all of that first part of when the vocals start. So we're just gonna make this here, and we're gonna call it down sweep long tail. Likely what's happened here is they've taken a traditional, just a down sweep, like a white noise riser type thing, but they've just made the tail a lot longer. So they've probably let it come in full force in the beginning and added a reverb tail somewhere along the way to elongate a lot of that noise. Probably something like that. This will probably start appearing through the rest of the song, and it'll probably keep coming in. So we'll see about that. And that's also nice. We'll notice a lot that a lot of the stuff that we'll be using in the intro and in the build-up, they will all come back in various ways, shapes, and forms. So we don't have to keep creating. We can actually just listen and say, hey, this repeats, and it'll be there again. Because I'll bet you... There we go. It's there again. I'm going to turn this down a little bit as well. Oh, yeah, I just turned it up so much. Let me just put this down. Or actually, maybe not. You probably want it to be loud. Let's see. Anyway, there's going to be another one of this here. Oh, it's there again. Nice. So this just keeps going, basically. It might not be here when the build-up intensifies, so let's not put it there. Cool. Let's have another listen. I think we've got most of the things from the beginning of the intro. Well, of course, we have the main vocal happening here. And this is obviously, this is gonna sustain throughout pretty much, the whole song. Over and under. What we can hear, though, is that there's sort of the difference in intonation, right? This is clearly an intro verse, so let's also call it that. There's nothing too crazy going on. This is just setting the tone for this person to scream that they're floating on air later in the video. So this is going to be the intro vocal, or the intro verse, we could even call it. And then maybe we can call this the intro vocals. Intro vocals. Or, sorry, build-up vocals, actually. So here we can hear something super interesting as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that probably in the drop, but you can hear here that we have these build-up vocals, which is just her singing. And by the way, this chanting is still continuing under here as well. It's hard to hear, but it is definitely filling up a layer just at a very low volume. But yeah, what we can hear somewhere throughout here is that we have some ad-libs. I'm just going to add this as a channel real quick, and then I'll explain what that is. We're going to call this ad-libs. So ad-libs is just extra words or little phrases or little sounds that you add under, you tuck it under stuff to just sort of fill up sound. You could also practically classify it as ear candy, which we'll have another video about what ear candy exactly is, but it's just, you know, little elements to fill up the song and the frequency spectrum. You can hear that happening here somewhere. Let me see. There we go. So you hear, that is just a separate thing that they put under it to kind of fill that a little bit up, because this is a bit more empty, right? In this build-up where it intensifies, it's going to make more space for the drop elements to come in. And so like Wilkinson or Kanine or whatever has chosen to sort of put some more like little stuff in. You hear that? So we're going to just put that here. I'm just going to ad libs. We're just going to put an O. This is a small detail, but this is definitely some of the stuff that, you know, beginning producers don't really think about. Okay, cool. And then here we have on the main vocal again, we sort of have this the drop phrase. I think that's what we should call it. So the thing that, you know, keeps repeating, the floating on air thing. Cool. So I think, yeah, let's finish everything before the drop, and then let's cut out and do the next video so that we can do the drop in a separate video. But let's see what else we have. So I think we have most of the things here. Okay, we got that. You can definitely hear all the automation coming in, right? It's coming louder, becoming more open, less filtered out. But no new elements that we haven't got yet. So one thing for sure that we haven't talked about yet is there are some pads here. I'm just going to go back to this little, you know, this set of equalizers, and I'm just gonna. So I made what is essentially a super simple band equalizer. All I've really done is map the frequency of 1 and 8 to a macro in an audio rec, just so I can move this around as a band. And let's see if we can use that to sort of find these pads here. So you can kind of hear it here. It's just like that chanting, right? The chanting has the exact same rhythm, but I think we can hear that next to this sort of slow vocal property chanting, there is also a pad going on. Something along the lines of like, yeah, some washed out saw waves or something like that. See, you can hear that. So a reese bass wouldn't have that much, it's like sort of upper tonal frequency. That would mostly be, right? very good, Jesse. Nice reproduction. But no, so we can hear that there are some pads. They're likely following the same note pattern as both the reese bass and that vocal chanting. So we can, yeah, let's put it in the intro elements. Let's say that we have sort of, let's actually copy this entire thing because they will occupy the exact same space. But we can say intro pads, and yeah, they also fade in. And maybe we should add to this washed out saw waves. / maybe it's like some violins or something like that. And they'll very likely go throughout the build-up as well. So what usually happens with pads like this, let's take this off again, is that they will take up the entire intro, and they'll just go all the way until like the drop, but they'll get faded out. The volume becomes lower, and instead of being sort of like a proper intro element, it will just fill up, you know, the more like, it'll just be a layer under all the excitement of the vocals and the build up and all those drums that come in there and all that kind of stuff. Okay, cool. All right. Now, of course, there's still some more things to talk about that are not intro elements. one of which is the drums. So we can hear that, let's see. This is probably not a kick, this is probably an explosion, but well, interestingly enough, there are actually no drums, well, except for that reverb clap there's actually no drums in the intro. Sometimes it'll start with like a hi-hat, right? Like, but we can't hear that here. Over However, that is a soft kick. I'm not sure if it's completely at full volume yet or anything like that, but on that first hit, when the build-up starts, we have a kick. So let's call it that. Let's just call it like a soft kick. Oh, probably got to zoom in to do that. Soft kick, right? I think we can. Yeah, okay, cool. Now we can also hear a hi-hat coming in, right? Listen closely. Let's see if that changes as well. Does it go faster as the build-up intensifies? Yep, you can hear. So what we're gonna say here now is, well, actually, you know, rather than doing this whole thing, we could actually maybe make this a little bit easier on ourselves even. Just quickly call this hi-hat. This is a closed hi-hat, by the way, not an open hi-hat, so closed. Okay, so it occurs every time on this beat, I think. Actually, one time in between as well. So it's literally this, and then that repeats. So I can actually select all this and just go Control D, right? Until the second part of the build up, that's where it starts to occur more frequently. So let's grab this one again. So we got tick, 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 tick. So we can actually assume that this goes tick, 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 tick. Let's see. Yep, and we can just repeat this until the drop basically, and we'll see how it goes in the drop, but I'll do that in the next video. All right, cool. So then we can already see that there is a intensifying drum pattern as well. There it goes from absolutely no drums to some drums to like more intense. And we can also, of course, hear that a kick will start to come in near the drop. We have that soft kick here. Let's see if we have it anywhere else. You can hear now that hi-hat. So now we can also hear a kick coming in like ding, 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 ding. So let's just quickly grab this one. And it's absolutely not at full volume and it's probably filtered out, but we can hear it ding, 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 ding. Right? I don't know if you cannot hear that, then maybe we just do this real quick again. Right, we can hear this kick that's happening. It's actually already going quite fast. And we can hear that it intensifies here. So let's analyze that real quick. So until here, until this 45 mark, it goes dung, 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 dung. Then it goes faster. And then it goes like double as fast, basically. So from 45 to 47 and from 47 to 49, we have some changes. So let's have a look at what that looks like. Start here. Here's where it starts. So let's at least put this kick here. Dun, 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 dun. So I think it goes like that. Yeah. So let's just copy this out. This is the frequency at which it will occur. Here it's going to go faster though. It's going to go twice as fast. This is usually what happens. So we're just going to have this, and then we're going to copy it out again. And you can also see sort of by hearing it and seeing where the MIDI notes are that this is correct. And then at this 47 mark, it'll go even faster. So we're going to have this again, and it'll fade out somewhere here. Yeah, see? Let's do that again. I think the last one cuts out. So that is our kick that's going on here. Let's see if like a clap or a snare maybe comes in as well in the intro. Let me take this off again. Nope, there's no other drum elements, so this is nice and simple. Sometimes you'll hear another clap come in or a snare together with the kick, but in this case we're keeping it pretty simple. What we can hear, however, is that somewhere about here we have a riser coming in, a very common element before the drop, which goes. See, so let's head over to the effects section, and let's say, well, this is not particularly a white noise riser. I don't really know what to call this, so let's just put it under one of the riser things. It is just a particular type of riser. So let's create a MIDI clip here, and let's call it, like, I don't know, windy riser, because that's kind of what it sounds like. Another interesting thing that we can hear here as well, which is another nice little transition element. So when you're going from, you know, this sort of intensifying drum pattern to the drop, it's quite boring to end in just a really fast kick. So what you can do, what you can hear here is that there is a tom roll. Instead of it's gonna go like it's like you know, someone going around the drum system. So we can actually go ahead and add this, and it depends a little bit how you want to see this. Is this truly, you know, a part of the drum bus, or is it an effects? I'm just gonna add it to the effects here real quick because I personally feel like maybe it belongs a little bit more there. Let's add a MIDI track here. Let's call it a tom roll. You can hear that here as well. Let's take it out real quick. You hear that? Maybe if we sort of do this again, it'll probably be more here. You hear that? All right, cool. So we got a tom roll there as well. And of course, then I think the last thing that we need to talk about before we talk about the drop is, of course, that lead bass, or whatever you want to call it. Whether you call it a lead or a lead bass or even a bass sound, it's a little bit confusing sometimes in drum and bass because, well, the definitions of those tend to cross over a lot. But let's see what we have here. So obviously, somewhere along the way, somewhere in this build-up, the vocal comes in. But we also have this dun 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 dun. Oh, and by the way, I think we missed something here. So here, obviously, there is also a white noise riser. So let's put that in here as well. There's definitely one of those in here. Just linking sections together, just shh. You can hear it. Cool, and we also notice that this is where that lead comes in. So let's go and let's just go and create, I want to have a new channel actually. Let's go and create a new MIDI track and let's make it its own little group just to have some clarification. Let's call it lead sound. I don't really care. Let's make this green. I like green for leads, and let's take it out of this group. There we go. And let's just give it its own little group here. Call it lead group. And we can hear that. So obviously, yeah, this is going to be throughout the whole build-up. So we're going to go intro melody. This melody will be slightly different from the one in the drop because we don't want to, you know, give away everything just yet. And it's pretty much the same here. It's pretty much the same there, but it will filter out. So filter / automation out. See how it sort of loses a lot of its cohesion there? Cool. So we could even, I mean, we could even take this and sort of say like, you know, washes out, just to give us a little bit more, you know, guidance as to what's really happening there. And that's also, you know, whenever you name these clips, you can give them as much names as you want yourself to sort of remind you what's going on there, because obviously we can listen to what element is present, but we can also listen to what's happening to it, like this reverb tail that we put in a few things, like this washes out part that we put here. And if you listen closely, you can hear a super long white noise riser on the background here that is taking its time to go all the way from here to here. It's hard to hear, but you can hear it go all the way up there. So let's also say that we have this white noise riser that we had here is all the way here for sure, but longer. So we can also say longer version or something like that. And let's see, it'll probably be in here as well. Usually there are multiple risers working together, so, you know, to just create a sort of more powerful syncopated effect. You can hear it kind of here. So obviously this is very obvious when it comes in. It's like, but before that you already hear some noise in the background. You know, shh. So yeah, we do have that. All right, I think that's probably where we should end this video for now. We have most of everything that comes before the drop. We might identify one or two elements that we forgot about in the next video. But then the next video, let's start talking about the drop. Cool.